everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. I'm Athena, your host today, and we're joined here today with Nick Squires. And yeah, this is a new one for me because I've never done this before ever. So this will be fun. And we got a super cool guest. So this should be easy. Okay, so yeah, today we're diving into the world of vegan powerlifting with Nick Squires. So you've been vegan since 2014?
2014, yeah.
Okay. So what made you decide to go vegan?
So it was kind of like a number of things going on in my life at that time. I had my daughter. I was born a year before that. So there were some changes I was making in my life around that time, realizing, I'm responsible for someone else and I want to be around to see them grow up. The life path I was on before that was not really designed for longevity. So around that time, I quit drinking, quit smoking, um, started working out, not powerlifting at first, but just started working out, and then primarily for ethical reasons at the same time. I went vegan. I did, understand some of the health benefits, but it's always mostly been about ethics for veganism. We were doing dog rescue, bully breed rescue, so we were fostering and rehoming and training bully breeds. And there was a moment I had where I was realizing I'm spending a lot of my time and money and energy into helping, these animals, and then I'm going home and I'm eating other animals. So that was already kind of in the back of my mind. And then we had one dog named Wilbur, and he reminded me a lot of a cow, just the way his mannerism and his energy and the way he moved. And I was like, I can't eat beef anymore at this point. And then, that just kind of followed down a road like, well, if I can't eat cows, how come I can eat pigs? How come I eat chicken? So, over the course of about a year, I just basically started cutting animal products out of my life. And then, at the end of that year, I'd finished my last tub of whey protein, and, I wasn't feeling like I was missing anything from my diet, from a culinary or from a nutritional aspect. And so, I've been vegan 9 years since then.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's the normal, I feel like that's something that's relatively normal to hear from vegans of like you start off for one reason, but then you just learn about so many different aspects of veganism that you're like, okay, I'm vegan for so many other things, but it always comes, well, at least what I've experienced, it always like really hits home with the ethics. So that's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen the way that I eat, obviously I'm not coming at it from a health perspective. Um, and I understand health vegans where they're coming from, but it's definitely not something that at this point I'm really looking at because I don't eat a healthy diet.
Uh-oh. I can already hear the comments. I don't like that. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so did you start powerlifting around that time or have you always been active? Have you always been an
Uh,
active person? Let's get to know you.
yeah, so I played hockey growing up. But in my mid 20s I stopped playing hockey and I was not doing a lot of activity, through those that time period. I would, often like join a gym, work out for a couple months, and I kind of had a skewed perspective of fitness, based on, fitness magazines and kind of general knowledge about fitness. There's a lot of, get ripped quick kind of stuff that's out there.
Mhm.
And what that leads to is you go to the gym for a couple months, you don't immediately like the way that you look or the progress that you're making, and you get discouraged. So I did that several times. I signed up for several gyms. Um, and around this time, we started doing tough mutters, the obstacle course runs. So they're, 13-mile runs with a bunch of obstacles. And part of the training in that was weightlifting. And I started training for the world's toughest mutter, which is a 24-hour run. You just run for 24 hours through this obstacle course.
That sounds awesome.
And yeah,
Like
during
24
that
hours
training,
straight.
it's like a loop, and you have the objective is to run as many laps as you can in 24 hours, and you can show up and just run one lap and then
Yeah.
sleep the rest of the time. That's fine. But you can set up a tent. Some people run it the entire 24 hours. Some people, take a break every few hours and
No
sleep.
sleep.
Yeah. So yeah, it's wild. But through that training, I was doing weight training and then running, and I was like, man, I hate running and I love weightlifting. Like, what if there was a sport where I could just do weightlifting? And it turns out there is. There's a few of them actually, and I really, really enjoyed powerlifting. And one of the main things for me is going back to what we were just talking about, is that powerlifting, as you're making progress, you're writing down, the number that you're lifting, and you're seeing that number change. And judging yourself on how you look is next to impossible, you know, especially with how quickly you expect your body to change and how quickly bodies actually change. With powerlifting, I was able to look at the numbers and say, look, I'm making tangible progress here. I can't argue the fact that these lifts are going up. Um, where I can look in the mirror and be like, I still don't like the way I look, but I kind of fell for powerlifting for that reason, is that it was really easy to stay motivated, and it's really easy to see progress in what I was doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you feel like powerlifting has maybe changed or has that helped with your view on your body? Like taking away the
Oh
main
yeah.
focus of you being the objective and changing you, do you feel like that's been more uplifting to like have these stats and like, yeah, I'm getting stronger and like being able to focus on that?
Yeah, I mean, looking at I remember going back, I remember the first time I deadlifted 225 pounds and I was like thrilled on it. And looking back now that I've deadlifted 675 pounds, and it's like, that's such a monumental amount of difference that's made. And at the same time, just working out that often, I have come to much more enjoy the way that I look, but it wasn't the focus, right? The focus was on how much am I lifting, and then, not focusing on my appearance, and the appearance comes secondary, and it will change. It just takes a lot longer than a lot of people expect it to.
Hmm. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fun. So, how long have you been, or how long did, when you started powerlifting, how long did it take before you started powerlifting competitively?
Too long. People ask me all the time, and I train now at like a powerlifting specific gym. And I run into a lot of people who have just started powerlifting. They've been powerlifting for 6 months or a year, and they always ask me, like, should I compete? And my advice to everybody is compete as soon as possible.
Mhm.
I had this in my head that, like, I really wanted to have a competitive total the first time that I competed. I didn't want to show up and like have a real embarrassing total. But I probably learned more at my first powerlifting meet than I had in like the previous 3 years of training at a gym. And, it's because I was training at like a Gold's gym. It was not a powerlifting gym. There was a very small number of people that were actually weightlifting there. It was mostly just general fitness people.
Mhm.
But I showed up, I took silver in my first meet, which was cool. But looking back, I wish I would have gone into competitive powerlifting a lot sooner. If it's something that you enjoy, even just going to a powerlifting meet and watching, or volunteering. You can go. These meets always need people to do spotting and loading.
Mhm.
It's a great way to get involved in the sport if you're interested in it. But just go to a meet. Another thing, I came from, like I said, I came from competitive hockey, and when you go into like a hockey tournament with teams that you're playing against, it's very tense.
Mhm.
There's a lot of like competitiveness. There's a lot of aggression before the game even starts. And so when I went into the powerlifting meet, I kind of had it in my head that it was going to be the same way as people are competing against. It's going to be tense. But what I found when I walked in is that everybody's like your best friend. The people that you're competing directly against in your weight class and category are giving you advice. They're helping you out. They notice that it's your first meet. They're giving you little tips like, oh, hey, don't have your wrist wraps over your thumb, or all these kind of things. They're helping you out, and it's a community, and I really enjoyed that about the sport as well.
Yeah, I think having a community is always really nice, and it helps get through. So I'm thinking of the people who, like you said, or you mentioned that it's more beneficial for someone to start competing right away. So thinking of people who might be maybe not coming from a fitness aspect or background or not having that support, what kind of advice would you give someone of just getting started and signing up for the first powerlifting meet? How do you get around the nerves? How do you feel adequate against people who might be a lot stronger than you expected or whatever it is? What kind of advice would you give them?
I mean, I think that your first powerlifting meet, and the mistake that I made was I was going into it planning on competing against people. And I really think that your first couple powerlifting meets should really just be about showing yourself the progress that you've made, and not really worrying about who you're competing against or what your numbers are. It's so many times I come across guys that they're getting ready for their first meet and they're talking about the weight cut that they're doing. I'm like, no, like don't, you're going up for an open meet. just to see the numbers you can put up. You're not going up for any records. You're not going up for any regional awards. Just show up comfortable, compete, put your best numbers up. This isn't about, dropping a weight class and getting, a slight competitive advantage there. It's just walk in at however you're comfortable and do your best and kind of show yourself the progress that you've made. There's no need to get overly competitive. You're not gonna get any flack for not finishing or platforming in your first meet. Just go out there and have fun. It's supposed to be about fun.
Yeah, I think that's good. 'Cause I think a lot of people get in their heads a little bit too much and thinking maybe they could be better, they could do this, they could do that. But at the end of the day, as long as you're showing up, I think that's something to be proud of. And the powerlifting community, or almost every fitness community, honestly, is just always so supportive. Like you could probably be lifting 5 pounds and like people are gonna be cheering you on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a great community, like I said, and everyone's there to support you. And just going there and set the foundation. I mean, obviously you're going to see progress in your powerlifting career, and if you want to go to your first meet and just lay down the foundation of where you started, and build on that. There's no need to go in thinking that you need to finish first or have a huge competitive number on your very first meet. Just get your feet wet.
There you go. I love it. So tell us a little bit about what are some of your proudest achievements as a powerlifting athlete? And don't be humble. Let me hear like at least top three or more. But at
Top
least
three or more.
tell us how strong you are
Um,
too. What are your PRs? Tell us everything.
well, let's see. So I think like I did the IPL Worlds in Ireland in 2019, and it's not a super competitive Worlds meet like the IPL. I'm sorry, the IPF World is. But it was really fun to be able to go to Ireland and travel and compete. And then, I won first place in my weight class. I actually missed weight at that meet, the traveling. I didn't really feel like doing a significant weight cut while I was traveling. So I competed one weight class up, still finished first in that. I pulled 666 pounds at that meet, over 300 kilograms, which was, 3 times my body weight. That was my best deadlift in competition. And that
Well,
was a lot of fun. And, there was my third meet. I took best overall. This is a regional local meet, but it was my third meet ever. And, I took first overall. It was the first time that I deadlifted 600 pounds in a meet. That was a lot of fun. Any meet where I can kind of go and finish, and then when people find out afterwards that I'm vegan, and they kind of think it's a joke at first. I like that. I don't like to go to the meet really advertising that I'm vegan, because I always have in the back of my head like I'm gonna mess something up, right? I'm gonna I'm gonna mess something. I'm gonna bomb out. I'm not gonna finish the meet, and then it's gonna be like, hey, that guy didn't finish the meet because he's vegan, right? He couldn't do it because he was vegan. But if I know that I placed, especially if I know that I finished first, and then I can put the vegan shirt on, and people are like, "Hey, that guy finished first and he's vegan." I think that really opened some eyes. The first time that I did it, I came out of the bathroom with a vegan shirt on, and the guy started laughing, and he's like, "Oh, you're serious?" He thought that it was a joke. He thought I was making fun of vegans, by putting the vegan shirt on. But that was good.
That's awesome. I think that's a smart move too. To wait, like, let me see how I do, and then
Right.
then I'll rub the veganism because people will use it against you. It's so
That
annoying.
it is the nature of kind of like the anti-vegan uh arguments and stuff, is if you do make a mistake first, and it's I never lead with it. I always try to put the proof out there first and then mention that I'm vegan. So I'll be at the gym training with guys for months before they find out. They'll go to my Instagram, like, "Oh, I didn't even know you're vegan." I'd rather have that than the other way around.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, yeah, you gotta prove them before they know.
Right.
So, what are your PRs right now?
So in competition, we just did the Plantbuilt meet in Atlantic City, as you
Oh,
may know.
yeah,
Um,
I was there, everyone.
so at that meet, I set a squat PR of 6'11". Um, I benched 385 and I pulled 640. So the squat and the total were PRs, which was cool because in May of this year I had bicep tendon repair done on my arm. So to be able to come back and not only be able to compete, but to put up my biggest squat and my biggest total to date was really cool. And yeah, that
Yeah,
was
and that
awesome.
was a intense surgery, everyone. He kind of said it like it was nothing, but that was like a really intense surgery that he was already lifting like probably a couple days later. He took a
Yeah,
long
so
time to
like
get back to the gym, which is not good, and I don't recommend that.
yeah, do not try this at home, but yeah, so basically the tendon that holds your bicep to your radius, it was a full tear. So
Mm.
my bicep was no longer connected. So they go in, they take a Kevlar button and they drill the tendon back into the bone. Um, and so I had that surgery on Thursday, and I woke up on Friday morning and I had like a harness so that I could deadlift without having to use my arm. And I went out in the garage and I was deadlifting 585 pounds the day after surgery. And
Oh
I
my
don't, I don't recommend it. I wouldn't tell anybody to do it. But you know, I needed to do something. I needed to get out there, and you know, a huge credit to my coach, who's also on the Plantbuilt team, Ryan Stills. Because when I had the injury, before I had the surgery, I said, Ryan, like, I just had this injury. I'm gonna have to get surgery. I don't think I'm gonna be able to compete at Plant Built in October, and you know we're gonna have to figure something out. And he said, "Well, are you looking for an excuse?" And I was like, "No, I'm not looking for an excuse." Like, and he's like, "Well, no, let's do it." And, you know, so he's like, "I've trained through several shoulder surgeries. Like, we can figure this out." And he was right. You know, using things like the deadlift harness. I switched to a gym here in Sacramento that has a belt squat machine. They have a nice safety squat bar, and I was able to keep training through all of it and get back under the bar a lot quicker than I thought I would.
A lot quicker than you thought you would. That's a day. I think when he said, I appreciate his words and absolutely true, but I don't think he meant the next day when he said that.
But it lit a fire under me for sure. He's like, "Do you want an excuse?" I'm like, "No, I don't want an excuse." That was like the perfect thing to say to me because like I'm an I'm entirely motivated by doubt and spite. So that's exactly what I needed to hear.
Good stuff. Okay, yeah, that sounds intense. I think I definitely would not be lifting the next day. Was it painful? And how's your recovery been? Are you like 100% recovered? Do you have any like follow-ups? How's that going?
So the recovery was great. I definitely was doing things before I was supposed to, but at the same time, like when I went in to talk to the physical therapist, you know, even the first consult afterwards, he was asking me to see if I could like extend my arm to here. And at that point, I already had like pretty much full range of motion. And he was kind of blown away. You know, he said he had not seen somebody recover from that surgery that quickly. Which, you know, I don't know. I think a lot of it is, you know, as a power lifter, you are eating an extremely high protein diet. And also my body has been for the past 9 years, all I do is just destroy my body in training and then let it recover. And so I think like my body is just primed for rebuilding tissue and recovering. But yeah, I started doing things probably a little bit sooner than I should, but paying very close attention to pain, um, and not pushing it to a point where I felt like I was at risk of re-injuring myself. A lot of it there was hazards that were inherent. You know, as I'm doing safety squat bar with 500 pounds on my back, it's true if I had slipped or tripped and put my arm out to brace myself, I would have re-ruptured, re-torn the tendon. But as far as the actual training being dangerous, I don't feel that it was. I did start benching before I was actually medically cleared to bench, um, but it worked out. The only limitation I have now is, you know, the actual tendon. If my arm is fully supinated like this, I still like when I do bicep curls as an accessory, I have like 35 in this hand, 55 in this hand. I'm still scared to do a pull up.
Mm,
Um, and it's just, I just picture it rupturing again. It's mostly a mental thing. It kind of freaks me out a little bit.
yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, well, everyone do not take medical advice from Nick. That's what we just
No,
learned.
I say that all the time. It's not medical advice.
I'm glad your recovery went smoothly though, nonetheless, because
Yeah.
yeah, that's scary. I mean, any kind of injury, especially if it's something you're so passionate about. I mean, you have to be passionate if you're going
Yeah.
to
I
the
mean, I
gym
sat
the
there and
day after.
yeah, when it happened, like I felt it happen and I started feeling around and like I was looking it up online to see what might have happened. And I realized within an hour what had happened. And I didn't know yet if it was a partial tear or a full tear or what
Mm.
they call a full thickness rupture, which is weird. But I knew what happened and it did freak me out. I thought, I don't know, how long it'll be until I can train again. I don't know if I can train again. So there was a lot of things those first couple of days before I got the MRI down and talked to the orthopedic surgeon that it was scary. But
Yeah.
everything turned out right.
Yeah, I can imagine that would have been emotional. How did you get through those couple of days of just kind of not knowing?
I just did a lot of um, pacing, not sleeping, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Again, not the best advice, everyone. Pacing's okay though. Um, okay, so and okay, I would love to know just about your day to day. I honestly don't even know. I don't even know about your day to day at all. I would love to know how you incorporate it into your life. I think everyone can
Mm.
relate to that. Everyone's busy. Everyone has things to do. What are your hours? Like, what hours do you work?
So every day I wake up at 4 a.m. and I do 6,000 push-ups,
Okay.
and I run 25 miles. No,
Nice.
I
That
wake
sounds
up in the
great.
morning at
Nick
6:45.
Squires.
I wake my daughter up. We get ready. I take her to school, and then I head to work. I work in IT. I'm a technical account manager for an MSP here in Sacramento.
Nice.
So that is takes a lot of my attention, and being in the IT space is makes it complicated because you're never really off. Um, Especially, post COVID, so many people work from home, and it used to be like most of the time people were in the office 8 to 5, and outside of that, it was kind of rare that you got called in. But now people expect things to work around the clock.
Mm,
So, it can be complicated. I kind of, when I go to the gym, I always have to bring my laptop with me because I might get paged in on, a security event or something like that. But if day technically ends at 5. I head to the gym and I train, and then it's you come home and you make dinner and you try to get a little bit of work done for the next day and then you go to bed. So like it's pretty busy. I do try to prioritize making time for the gym at least 3 days a week. Without, I also want to spend time with my kid and things like that. But it does take up a lot of your time. There's not a lot of free time. I don't do a lot of recreation outside of working out. I play hockey once a week, Friday nights, play ice hockey here in Sacramento. But outside of that, it does take a lot of dedication, energy, to focus on not only the training aspect of powerlifting, which is going to be 2 hours, 3 hours a day, 3 or 4 days a week, but also the recovery and the nutrition that comes with that. If you're going to put your body through that for 2 or 3 hours, you need to be giving it the nutrients and attention and the recovery that it needs in order to rebuild and be able to do that again.
yeah, well, that's insane. So you go to work and you go to the gym and possibly have to work, and then you come home and do a little bit more work? Or did you mean just like work around the house?
No, I mean, yeah, work around the house, clean the house, things like that. But a lot of times it's just getting work ready for the next day, touching up on any, emails or things that, came in while I was at the gym that weren't critical. It's around the clock.
Okay, so you guys hear that? You can be busy and you don't have to go to the gym 6, 7 days a week to make progress. You can go a couple days. Wow, that's insane. That's a lot of work. So your routine is about 3 days a week, or is it kind of just a week to week basis of how busy one week might be?
Yeah, so right now I'm on 3 days, and then I play hockey on Fridays, which I consider sort of a workout. It is,
Cardio.
it's cardio, and it's cardio that works for me because I don't have to think about it. Like when I can't run because then I'm thinking about how the fact that I'm running the whole time and I just want to stop. And hockey, it's great cardio and it takes your mind off of it. But yeah, right now 3 days a week. If I for some reason am not in pain on one of the extra days, I'll throw in a Peloton ride or some accessory lifts. But I think a lot of that fitness culture that we talked about in the beginning has led to people overtraining.
Oh yeah.
I think that if you are training 6, 7 days a week, you're not giving your body adequate time to recover. And I also think that if you're able to train 6 or 7 days a week, you're probably not training at a good capacity. You should have difficulty training that often if you're really getting the most out of your workouts that you should be in this sport.
You might get some heat for that, but I
That's
agree.
fine.
I do agree that yeah, 6, 7 days a week is quite a lot. Specifically strength training 6 to 7 days a week. I mean, if you like you said, if you're adding in cardio, okay, but I think it's nice to hear because I think a lot of people, even like maybe who aren't in the fitness community, but they want to be, they just have these super high expectations because of social media. They think I have to go to the gym like every single day. I have to work on my abs every single day. I have to go to the gym in the morning and do cardio, go to the gym at night and do strength training. There's like so much wrong with what people think they have to do. So I think it's nice for people to hear like, okay, you're busy, you have a busy life, but the gym isn't your life. It's just a part of your life that you really enjoy, but it's not your entire life. You still have work and you still have time with your daughter and time to
Yeah.
do things that you enjoy, like eating at restaurants. I see photos, they look really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, this whole like grind set thing, no rest days, I fell into it for a little bit in the beginning, and it's a really good way to burn yourself out uh, and not want to do this anymore because you're putting your body through that and you're making it your entire life and it's taking up your entire schedule. There's just a lot of misinformation out there. That's what you need in order to be successful. A lot of people think like, oh, if I miss this workout, I'm gonna fall behind. You can miss a week of training, and while it might not be the most effective or productive thing long term, it's not going to be the end of the world. If I have to miss a workout because I'm going to go camping or whatever, I'm not going to lose my strength from that 1 or 2 or 3 missed workouts. Your body is going to hold on to that strength for a lot longer than you think it will. I remember my first several meets in powerlifting, you're just like a deload or a rest week. And I was convinced, like, oh, if I don't work out for a week or 2 weeks, then by the time I get to the meet, I'm gonna have lost all my strength. And that's ludicrous. Your body doesn't work that way. Your body does not work that way.
Yeah, I 1000% agree. I think there's just a lot of misinformation, just not understanding. And it sucks because it's kind of almost impossible to know what's true when literally everything says this is right, this is wrong. And it's like one doctor says this is right, this is wrong. And it's hard to know what to do and who to believe. So I think it's good to hear from people who actually live the lifestyle and not just people who comment on it.
Yeah, I mean the social media algorithm has brought so much misinformation into any field you can imagine. And it's because the most outrageous thing is what gets the most attention, and it's what comes to the top of your feed. You know, uh, Years ago, my mom found this book at a thrift store. It was an Arnold Schwarzenegger book about bodybuilding. And
Mhm.
you look at this book, and it was written in the 70s, and it's talking about, working out, rest, recovery, the basics of bodybuilding, and those haven't changed. They knew all this stuff in the 70s, but that doesn't sell. Nobody wants to hear that, you know, hey, if you want to be good at powerlifting, you need to go to the gym several days a week for several years before you make meaningful progress to the point where you're going to be competitive. Nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants to hear, oh, if you stop eating carbs, oh, if you train 7 days a week, oh, if you do this new muscle confusion. That's People want the shortcut. And so because people want the shortcut, or because what the person is saying is incendiary and people are going to argue about it, that's what gets put in your social media feed. That's what you hear about. But the fundamentals of weight training haven't changed in forever. And it's not glamorous, and it's not the what you really want to hear, that this is going to require a long amount of hard work. But that's all there is to it.
I agree. I think that's the same thing when it comes to like weight loss or muscle building. It's like, okay, look at this program where you can lose 20 pounds of fat in 4 weeks. And it's like,
Right.
maybe, but it's not sustainable. Anything that sounds too good to be true, everyone has heard this. If it sounds too good to be true, then don't believe it.
Yeah.
I think it is the ugly aspect of it takes time to build muscle, it takes time to build strength, it takes time to lose weight, and that's all okay. You're gonna be
Hmm.
so much more happier in the long term if you just take it slow than if you just go head first into everything and then hate it and then
Yeah.
quit. Everyone quits and then they're like,
Right.
well, that didn't work. I don't believe in that. And I was like, no, you just no, just don't listen to them.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, what's your routine like? Let's hear like 3 days a week. Like, what are you doing in the gym?
So I realized a long time ago that I am not smart, and
Okay.
I need when I got to a certain point, you know, for years I was either trying to program myself, or I was getting, you know, kind of cookie cutter programs from the internet, and some of them are great. You know, the Johnny Candido has a great program if you're looking for like a good program. There's a lot of great starter programs, intermediate programs. I strongly feel that when you get to the point where you're competing a couple times a year, and you're really looking to move past intermediate powerlifting, you need to find a coach. And there's a number of reasons for that. One is that these people have trained for how to program you. And just because you got yourself to a certain point in powerlifting does not mean that you know how to program yourself. It also, human beings, we all have a very big blind spot to our weaknesses. And so if you are programming yourself, you're going to program yourself what you're good at. You're going to avoid the things that you're bad at. And what you really want is you want a coach that you can send video to, you can send your workouts to, and they can identify your weak spots and program you things that are going to help there. So right now, as I said, my coach, Ryan Stills, he's on the Plantbuilt team. He's been programming me since April of this year. I send him my workouts. He quickly identifies what I need to work on. He writes that into the next program. So right now I have a 3-day split. And you know, it's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Tuesday, first workout of the week is always squat. So based on what we're doing for that block, it'll be volume squat, or it'll be some heavy lower rep squat. Um, then you know, and then there's some upper body. So usually bench on Tuesday. Thursday will be a deadlift or a deadlift variation with some accessory, upper body accessory, and then Saturday it's usually a squat variation with a additional upper body. So Ryan has a lot of different um, disciplines that he kind of blends into his programming. So there's a lot of conjugate inspired stuff. So a lot of bands and chains, a lot of work with the safety squat bar, a lot of variations. So there's things that I started doing in the last year that I had not done before that have helped me immensely. I mean, for not being able to do a barbell squat for 4 months leading up to a meet, and then setting a squat PR to meet, I was immediately sold on everything that he'd been doing, and it's something that I would not have been able to accomplish myself. So, if you are serious about powerlifting and you've kind of burned out or plateaued on the online programming, I really would recommend finding a coach. And obviously, in the vegan space, you want to find a coach who's understanding of your diet. There are some coaches out there that they don't think that you can do what we're doing on a vegan diet. They're going to try and tell you that any plateaus or lack of progress is because, oh, you're not getting animal protein. Obviously, we know that's not true. So it is good to find a coach. And most people, honestly, most people in this space understand it. I find that 99% of the time when someone wants to argue with me about quality of protein, they're a do nothing, right? They have not accomplished anything. When I talk to people who are competitive powerlifters, the most that they'll do is they'll kind of think for a second, and they're like, oh, okay, like it'll catch them off guard. They will be surprised. But as someone who they've been training for years, they have a very good understanding of what they're putting in their body. They know the protein content of everything. And so when you say that to them, they start thinking about other things that they eat that aren't animal based, that do have protein in them. And they really quickly realize, oh, you could do that. Right. It's really the people who have not accomplished anything or don't really understand what they're eating that want to argue the most about what you can and can't do on a vegan diet.
Yeah, I think some people just really like to talk shit. They just like to talk, hear themselves, and I think they're just gonna rise out of it, honestly. They love to hear people fight back or whatever it is. So I always love your responses and how you post on social media. Like you'll make fun of vegans jokingly, like, oh, I would never eat this garbage. Or like
Yeah.
agree with the trolls, like, yeah, you're right, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, there's so much out there, and it's only gotten worse. But I think what you have to do is you have to kind of quickly identify, does this person have a genuine misconception? And they got some bad information, but they're open to, updating their view on something. Or, you go to someone's profile and their entire, replies are just anti-vegan comment, the same four arguments over and over again. Why are you going to argue with that person? That person exists specifically to try and make you upset. And so as soon as you get upset and start replying to that person, that's what they wanted. So make fun of that person and move on. Uh,
There you go.
there's also like this huge online push for people who are following the carnivore diet, which
My
is people
goodness.
who only eat meat, raw dairy, things like that. And those people constantly want to fight with me about, what you can and can't do on a plant protein diet. And, for the most part, it's like you are coming from, you think that the carnivore diet is ideal because you think it's the ideal human diet. I don't eat animals because I don't want to eat animals. We have nothing to argue about. I'm not saying veganism is the ideal human diet. It's not something I even think about. I think about the fact that I don't want to eat animals and animal products, and I found a way to do it that works with me being a competitive powerlifter. And that's the end of the story. If you want to sit there and tell me that, oh, this is not, animal protein is 3% more. Who cares? I'll eat 3% more plant protein and then I'm still stronger than you. Like, what are we even talking about?
I think that's a good response. That's very, very true. I think, yeah, you're right. I think so many people just get a rise out of the trolls, and it's like, just let it be. Like,
They
really, just let it go. Like you said, they
they
just.
have no one in their life that loves them, and they don't understand the difference between good attention and bad attention. And so they're going to go online and they're going to try and make people upset because then they get the attention and they don't know the difference and it makes them feel fulfilled. So all you're doing is making them feel better. Just call them a nerd and move on.
That's the quote of the day. Call him a nerd, move on, and just make fun of him too.
Yeah, go back to the gym. If they spent half as much time in the gym as they do telling me that I can't do what I'm doing on a vegan diet, they'd be half as strong as me. So, don't just move on.
That's true. I agree. You heard it from him, guys. I 100% agree. Okay, let's talk about something a little bit more fun, like nutrition. Let's talk about, what do you eat? What kind of things do you do? Do you meal prep? Do you track your food? Tell me all the things, because everything you post looks delicious. I'm always so jealous.
Yeah, so meal prepping for me is a problem because if I meal prep for a week, I'm just gonna sit there and eat the whole week's worth of food. If it's in front of me,
You know.
if it's in front of me, I'm gonna eat it. There's no way around it. And also the time, like I know that it ultimately saves time, but it's not gonna work for me. Like I'll just sit there and eat everything that I made. So um, people ask that a lot, and obviously on social media, I post the more exciting things that I eat. So on the weekend, I'll go out and I'll house an entire pepperoni pizza or four double cheeseburgers or whatever, and that's fun and it's exciting and it's delicious and it's a huge amount of protein. It's not how I eat, 7 days a week. So the other day, someone asked me, can you put together like an average day? And so I just kind of, whatever I would normally make at that time, I wrote down the protein content and I took a picture of it. And it was like, so I wake up and I just do, it's like 150 grams of oatmeal, 150 grams of oats, and then one scoop of protein powder. And that was actually the only scoop of
No,
protein powder I used the
gross.
entire day. What?
I hate protes.
Uh, yeah.
Oh, so
What's wrong
gross.
with protein?
They're disgusting. The texture is nasty. Bleh. Okay, that's disgusting. But go on. Let's hear about your breakfast.
So that was 40 grams of protein. Super easy, super simple, nothing fancy, like
There's nothing
instant
else in it.
oatmeal.
Just
It's just oatmeal. This is instant oatmeal, like the maple one, and then
any
it
room.
was some protein powder, yeah,
What
and then it
brand?
was some oat milk. That was True Nutrition.
Okay.
Um, for the one that I made here.
Yeah. No
And
toppings?
then what's that?
No toppings? Berries? vegetable fruits.
No, I have like 6 minutes. Like I'm just like I'm in there like in a towel, like just throwing things in a bowl. I chopped up a banana and I ate the banana. So two bananas with that. So that was breakfast. Then I'm out the
Chop up
door.
a banana.
Yeah. So I
Okay.
have a sword I use for the banana. And then so lunch, I really like Morningstar Farms does a bag of chicken strips.
Yes.
And get them at Walmart, get them at the grocery store. The protein content, the first time I read the label, I was like, this can't be right. Like it's the bag is 84 grams of protein in it. For I think it was like 500 calories. So just for most people, that's over the RDA for protein for their entire day. And so
I write
those you
this
can like,
down.
yeah,
I didn't know that.
Morningstar chicken strips. They're pretty bland, which is good because they can take any sauce that you want. So it's hard to get bored of them, So I can put them in a buffalo sauce. I can put them in, that Bashan's, the barbecue sauce. You can put them in anything you can think of, and they'll take that flavor pretty well. I cook that with rice, some broccoli, something like that. Super quick, takes about 6 minutes to prep in the microwave, and that's 84 grams protein right there. So that's huge. With rice and everything, it's like 94, I think, for the meal. And it's a fair amount of food for the average person, but it's a good lunch for me.
For the
And
average
then,
person. It's probably someone's like meal prep of 3 days, like their lunch.
oh yeah, for sure. That's someone's like they could use that bag of chicken for the whole week. And then before I go to the gym, the Killer Dave's bread,
Mm.
the red one that has like 5 grams of protein per slice. So I'll just do that. PB and J, PB and banana, something like that. You're getting
Mm.
like 17 grams out of that, and I just eat one of those before I head to the gym. If I don't have that, something like this, just
Mm. Lenny and Larry.
Lenny and Larry's protein cookie,
There you go.
easy. Keep them in my gym bag for when I forget to eat. So those are good.
You
And
forget to
then,
eat?
I mean, like forget to eat the ninth time that day. Like I'll get to the gym like, oh, I haven't eaten in an hour. I'm about to die. So I have one of those in the bag.
Melting.
Throwing a tantrum in my truck because I haven't eaten in an hour. And then dinner. It was Berea makes protein pasta, which is cool because they use pea protein isolate instead of anything else, and so
Mm.
it's just like regular wheat durum pasta with some pea protein. So that brings the protein content of the pasta up a lot. And then I throw some sausages in there. For the Beyond Meat sausages are really good. The Impossible sausages are really good. Budget wise and protein content wise, the tofurkey ones are actually higher protein content and a few dollars cheaper per pack. So whatever I have on hand. So that meal ends up being like 81 grams of protein for that bowl of pasta with a couple sausages. So that day right there that we just outlined is 232 grams of protein, which is a lot. And some people would say that's too much.
Which is a
But
lot.
For me, it's perfect. I have tried a lot. Like I've gone up to 300 grams protein a day. I have not seen much benefit from that. I've gone down to like 150 and I see longer recovery times in that. So my sweet spot has been the, 1 gram per pound of body weight. I find that, and I'm not overspending or overeating. And at the same time, it kind of is ideal recovery time so that I have a day off and then I can get back to the gym and keep training the day after that.
Okay, well, I think people are gonna really like this because that was all very relatable and easy. I love easy. Anything easy
Yeah,
is definitely my style. Anytime I go on Instagram, everyone just has the fanciest meals and they're like eating it every day, and I'm like, how? This is like insane. And I'm also not a meal prepper. It just well, one, yeah, I probably will eat way too much too, but also it just takes so much time, like
yeah,
out of one day. Like it seems more convenient, but if I'm not in the mood for that day, then it just kind of ruins everything. Or maybe I eat
right. Yeah.
double and then I mess everything up.
Yeah, it's just not realistic. The cost that and the time, I just try to find something that I don't have to spend more than 5, 10 minutes. Obviously, the pasta takes a little bit longer to cook, but for
Not
someone who
really.
has a busy, it's like, boil the water. Or it takes a little bit longer than the other ones, but people don't have time. I don't have time. I don't know who has the time, but I have like, like I said, I work through most of my lunches. So like I've microwaved this and I'm just standing in front of the sink trying to get this in before the next person calls me. So, it's about getting the nutrients and the protein in a cost and time effective manner, so that I don't miss a meal. Because missing a meal for me is fairly catastrophic, not only emotionally, but also for getting my protein in.
Okay. Okay, so what's your all-time favorite meal ever? And or actually that's including something that you make and something that you can buy from a restaurant. Like maybe like your favorite restaurant meal and your favorite meal that you make.
You want me to narrow down the splendors of the entire culinary world into two meals?
Yes.
Mm.
Like
Well,
maybe like your favorite now, because maybe it'll change in an hour, but like right now, it's like it sounds like your favorite thing ever. Or just
so
something that you're
before,
really in the mood for right now.
yeah, before I went vegan,
Hmm.
I ate almost entirely fast food diet. You
Healthy.
know, yeah, and it was the same thing. It's work. I don't have a lot of time, and so I'd drive through Jack in the Box or wherever it was.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing was the Carl's Jr. Western Bacon Cheeseburger. I loved that thing. And so early on when I went vegan and when the Beyond Burger came out, changed the game, because before that, no disrespect for the greats, the OGs, but the Beyond Burger coming out compared to the Boca Patty that was out, I mean, that
Oh
was
my
just a
goodness,
night and day
yes.
difference. Um, and so the first time I was able to like veganize a Western bacon cheeseburger, so the Beyond or the Impossible Patty, the bacon, the cheese,
Wait,
um,
share the ingredients. What kind of bacon? What kind of cheese? We gotta know all of it.
so whatever bacon, like the light life is fine. I like the sweet earth stuff. Not currently buying sweet earth stuff right now. But you know, the the burger dude on Instagram, YouTube, the burger dude, he has the recipe for rice paper bacon. It's incredible.
Write this down.
Yeah, check that out. It's rice paper bacon, so it's not super high protein, but the taste is fantastic. He like great channel. He does
Okay.
specifically like vegan fast and junk food. So check that out. He has a cookbook out too. Hugely recommend it. Great guy too. Anyway, and the barbecue sauce, that probably my favorite burger to make and eat. Just because it's so nostalgic for me, for something that I ate for years before I went vegan and didn't really have an alternative to for a while. So that's my favorite thing to make at home and eat. Do a double, you're getting 50, 60 grams of protein out of it, as an excuse to eat two burgers. And
Yeah.
then right now, so there's a place here in Sacramento called Vegan Deadly Sins.
Mm.
They do vegan Chinese cuisine. So they do chicken chow mein. It's really good. General Tso's chicken, orange chicken. It's fantastic. Everything there is vegan. They have boba. So that's my favorite spot right now. My kid loves it too, so she and I go every weekend. Head out
Yeah,
there.
I see it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna visit soon because I really want to try that.
That and then Pizzasaurus Rex. They do a vegan pie, um, just pepperoni, and one of the best pizzas I've had, vegan or not, my entire life. That place is really good.
Hmm, it all sounds really good. And by the
Yeah,
way, everyone, the only reason I follow him is because all the food he posts. And that is the only reason, because it
yeah.
all
Another
looks
reason.
so good. No other reason at all.
Nothing else of value on that channel.
I'm just kidding, but everything you post does look really good, and I've seen it all. It's so amazing. I love Chinese food,
Mm.
and there's some good places here, but it's like I don't know. I feel like California just they just have all the innovations. New York City, it's fine, but it's just the stuff I've tried in Cali is just a breath of fresh air. Or maybe it's just being in
Yeah,
Cali. It's sunshine, eating. It's just nice.
yeah. It's raining right now. I mean, we moved here from LA, and it's not the same. LA, Los Angeles, you can't throw a rock without hitting a vegan restaurant, and it's really cool. And there's some great stuff out there. Came up here and there wasn't a lot, but that's changed in the last couple of years. We have a place called Burger Patch, which is vegan fast food. Vegan Deadly Sins. We have a lot of great places like that. Plant Power opened a location up here. So it's getting better, but definitely not the same as Los Angeles when we moved. There's a lot of places out there I really miss.
Yeah, but everything sounds so nice and so close to you. I don't have anything that close. So when I said I was coming to visit, I actually meant I was moving in. That
Okay,
sounds
very,
that sounds
yeah.
amazing. A good deal. But that sounds great. I could talk about food forever because that's like my favorite subject in the world. So we're gonna come on an hour. So let's wrap it up with something fun. What What's your playlist? What's your favorite music to listen to when you're working out? Taylor Swift.
It, yeah. Taylor Swift, Spotify Wrapped game. Taylor Swift is definitely a number one.
Yes.
So I'm very into hardcore music, the hardcore music scene. That's where a lot of like the principles of veganism came up early in my life, and I kind of understood them. And same for being straight edge. Coming from that music scene, and it is kind of funny. Like when I hear people talk about vegans being weak or soft or whatever, because growing up in that music scene, you would go to a show and there'd be some vegan straight edge kid like fighting three people at once. So whenever I heard that, I was like, that doesn't fit with what I understand about vegan
Yeah.
people. But honestly, like when I'm going for a PR, a huge lift, I'm actually more motivated by like hauntingly sad or depressing music. Um, so it's like, for example, like my PR song for a long time was The Foggy Dew by Sinead O'Connor, rest in peace. And
Motivational.
it was about the troubles in Ireland. It's a terribly sad song. And something about it just stirs up a lot of emotion in me, and it really gets me ready for a big lift. When I'm training and I'm going to be there for 3 hours and listening to harder music, with a lot of anger in it. But when I'm going for like one big lift, it has to be something really sad. And I feel for whatever reason, I get more adrenaline, more motivation out of that than anything else.
Okay, so you feel a lot stronger when you're like feeling a little more depressed. It just brings out
Huh.
brings out the strength.
Hey, let me call my therapist and let's talk about that one.
So that's why you're so strong all the time.
Yeah, because I'm always sad. Yeah.
Just kidding. But yeah, I think that's my general playlist. I think it's just mostly sad songs because I like anything I can sing to. And I can't sing to hardcore and rock. Like I'm not doing screamo. I'm like a Sam Smith, like, you're not the only one.
It's good.
So that's my style. But okay, I think that's like I feel like that's like the powerlifting community is like everyone listens to hardcore rock. But
Yeah, it's all like rap or heavy metal and stuff like that. It's pretty like if you go to any powerlifting gym, those are kind of the two genres you're gonna find for sure.
yeah, I also think a lot of people don't know what straight edge is. So what is that? What can you tell them?
Straight edge is just the idea of like not partaking in any drugs or alcohol. And it goes back to community. There's a lot of people who don't smoke or do drugs, and that's fine. You don't need to really identify as anything for that. But for a lot of people who grew up in that music scene or in any music scene, the use of drugs and alcohol is kind of glamorized, and it was kind of like this is what you have to do. And for a lot of us that wanted to not do that anymore, we kind of felt isolated. And that's kind of where the straight edge community comes in. It's a group of people who kind of feel the same way as you about something, and it just gives you a sense of belonging. And I can tell you firsthand, like when I quit drinking, a lot of my friendships and relationships were based around going out and drinking. And so all of a sudden I didn't have that anymore. And I did feel incredibly isolated, like you lost a large chunk of your relationships because you're not going to go out and party and drink with them anymore. And so, it just gives you kind of a place that you feel like you kind of belong with that.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's a nice note to wrap up on. I think I stopped yeah, when I stopped drinking it was the same thing. It's just like
Yeah.
no, they don't want to hang out with you anymore. They don't want to go for a walk. So it can be lonely. And it's inspiring to know that there are people out there that also can resonate with that and that they do want to do things with you that don't revolve around drinking. There's so many people,
Right.
and I think it takes time. So if anyone decides to stop drinking, stop doing drugs, whatever it is, it can take time to build the friendships that actually have meaning to them, and that is totally okay. So definitely don't get too in the dumps right away because it might be a little sad at first when you realize like, oh, these weren't actually my real friends. These are just people that I hang out with. But the real friends come. They
Yeah.
come in time. So is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about or that you want to say or mention?
I mean, I can't believe it's been an hour already.
I know. Time flies when you're having fun. So, all right, then we can wrap it up here. I don't know how to end this properly, so I'm just gonna say thank you all for listening. We very much appreciate it. Thank you for coming on today. This took us forever to schedule, so I'm glad that we finally made it work. And yeah, thank you all for listening and tune in next time. Toodles!